Economists are very bullish right now as they look to exclusively the US stock market in order to determine how well things are doing. But if we look at the 2015 indicators, we will see that they are screaming a crash ahead. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. We have much to cover today. We're going to go over it very briefly, and I want to start with a bit of humor. This is out of the Wall Street Journal. Fed scores in bid to keep cash from trash. The Fed destroys more than 5,000 tons of U.S. currency a year. Now, they're not doing so via inflation in this case. They actually destroy the bills physically, and I thought that was a quite humorous parallel here that we have. They're not only ruining our currency, but they're actually destroying the bills. Quite funny. Let's move on to the real news right here. This is out of Bloomberg, the 94% plunge that shows Abenomics losing global investors. When you print currency, you destroy it. You don't need to burn it up or bury it somewhere. This is what happens, and Japan is a perfect example of that. After pumping record amounts of cash into Japanese shares last year, they've hardly added to holdings in 2014. Inflows are down 94% this year, on pace for the smallest annual amount since 2008 global financial crisis. This is a perfect example of why you do not print up currency to solve your problems. They've been doing it for decades and it hasn't worked. You have no idea how many people in the finance industry I've talked to and I've heard on different programs basically suggesting that you can have a successful quantitative easing program, and they show Japan as the example of that success. But you have to realize that there's nothing successful about the Japanese economy in this way. When we look at how much money they've printed up and we look at the future of it, it isn't looking good. We showed you this here just recently, and basically the charts all indicate that they are on a decline. In fact, after they came up after World War II, they've been on a decline ever since. So let's get into what happened historically, because at the Money GPS, I always show you the historical data. Many of the alternative news doesn't even get into that. Forget about the mainstream media. You need to realize that this is not opinionated information. It is just the facts. So I know you guys appreciate that. Let's get into it right away. We're talking about Japan at 1989, just before their crash. And it said this, many quotes from different financial people in the financial industry. We're looking for another good year. Another quote is, the markets look well set. And another one is, the outlook is extremely good. And you'll read on, but essentially they continue to project this message that everything is just fine. Don't take your money out, just leave it in. If you see any dips, that's a great opportunity to buy more. And they continue on. I heard this all throughout the Great Depression. I have read countless books on the Great Depression, and you will see the quotes over and over and over again. Everything is just fine, just fine, just fine. And then they have their crash. And then people bought up, silly people bought in, and they got caught on the dead cat bounce, and we had a nearly 90% drop from the top to the bottom, and many people were destroyed by that. This is what's happening in Japan right now when they think that they can manipulate the market using quantitative easing in order to fix their problems. Doesn't work like that. It never has, never will. This is China's leading indicator showing you that they are moving back in many instances down to levels not seen since the financial crisis. And the reason I mention this, this is just one indicator, but we have been showing you many, many, many indicators that are the exact same thing, not just for China, not just for Japan or the US or Europe or Australia or South America. And we go on and on and on. All these different countries and continents are suffering right now, and they are at levels they haven't been since the financial crisis. So we can expect that something real bad is going to happen very soon. Let's get on to the GDP of the world. World stocks are moving up relative relatively, evenly right here, as we can see. There's been some slumps or whatever, but overall, we can see that it is moving in an upward direction. But you look at the 2015 world GDP estimate, it's down. And this is an indicator showing you that 2015 is expected to be on a decline. And we know this specifically because there is no semblance of reality in these economies. Look at the GDP increase that they projected through the mainstream media in the US. They actually include the spending that people have done on Obamacare, increased taxation as a means of boosting their GDP. Look at Europe, so many other countries, including drugs and prostitution as part of their GDP in order to boost it up. This is all false. This cannot be sustained. 2015, we're going to see more volatility. And this here, again, showing you the world stocks, and then look at everything else moving down. The 10-year yield, you could see oil and the growth estimates all moving down, practically in sync with each other, all in a decline. But the only thing that's moving up here is the stock market, and that's because the QE is finding its way directly into that. I wrote about it in my book. Basically said there have been countless cases throughout history of countries trying to print money and use deficit spending to get out of their problems. In the long term, this has absolutely never worked. Why then do governments believe that somehow this time is different and that they will be successful at preventing a collapse? They talk about this at the World Economic Forum, at Davos, and they consistently say, we need more money, we'll print it up now, and we'll fix the problems later. That's Nouriel Roubini's suggestion every single time they speak to him. Look, print the money now, we'll fix it up, and we will not print money later. Printing money is bad. It doesn't work like this because there's always a new election cycle. There are always new crises forming, both natural and artificial, and you can't print up money to fix it. It never works. You can't just do it temporarily. You need to let things crash, come down to a real level, and real investment will pick up the pieces. This is exactly what's happening in Japan right now. We're going to see the same exact thing happen that was in 1989. They suggest everything is just fine. They do everything they can. They throw all the money at it, and nothing works. IMF suspends financial aid to Greece. This is what happens when you allow this lifeline to occur and they become dependent on it. And they're basically, going to have this vote that's coming up. And obviously, if they suspend their financial aid, the country's going to be in big trouble. You have the Troika taking over here a few years ago, and they are the ones controlling all the finances of this government. But when they pull away the lifeline, when they pull away the crutch, then you have a real noose around the neck of that country. This is what they do on purpose. The IMF is not there to help. They're there to loot the countries. There are many books written about this, and you can see for yourself. But essentially, they are always going to be there to take the assets of the country. We saw Greece, countless islands have been sold off. Other countries around the world are selling off their precious assets. I've been warning about this in so many of my videos in my book as well, just talking about the fact that our countries, whether it's, you're maybe not in Greece, other countries as well are going to be suffering. We need to realize that it's going to come around to us. This is just about the gold deposits, and we can see that the gold deposits at the Fed have been declining recently. And of course, if we really look into it, I'm sure that we would find that they are next to nothing, if not nothing at all. But essentially, just wanted to show you this statistic right here. You could check it out for yourself. I wanted to note what was important to the world in 2014. Let's look at this. The Ferguson grand jury, extremely popular. Ferguson shooting, wow, very popular. Election day, that Sony and Cuba crisis happening. Ray Rice. But what about the real crises that are occurring? Russia invades Crimea. That's important there, but not really, doesn't seem as important as Ferguson or other things here. The public is distracted by the mainstream media and all of their propaganda that they push. We need to realize how important the real economic indicators are, the real decisions that are occurring, that are going on by the supranational entities that exist above our government. We always look to our politicians for answers. We look to the politicians for, to blame them, but that's not the way it works. They're taking orders from their superiors, and that is not the taxpayer, that's for sure, because everything is against the taxpayer when you really look into it. So just wanted to show you this. It's pretty interesting to see what people are talking about and how the economies around the world are going to suffer because people are simply not paying attention. They're not demanding what's important. They're demanding more celebrity news, and they're demanding all of the foolishness. Now, before I end the video, I just wanted to say that I have countless emails in my inbox right now. I'm completely swarmed. Please just bear with me while I get back to you, everybody. There's just so many. I'm really trying to reply to all of those. The comments are just pouring in. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of this. We got now over 12,000 subscribers. It has really grown just in a short period of time. Hello to all the new subscribers out there. I want to say hi to each and every one of you. I have so many big plans for the Money GPS, and I hope that you will join me throughout the rest of 2014 into 2015. For those who are new here, I post pretty much every single day if I can, and I try to bring the real economic indicators to people, showing them the truth, giving them the information, and try not to put my own opinions on it, really just being really lacking bias here. I just want to show you the facts and let you deal with it, let you take care of it on your own. If you're not a subscriber on here already, I definitely suggest doing that. You could join one of the other 12,000 and also become a subscriber on the Insiders. Number one, that's where I reply to my emails the first. No matter how many emails are coming in with my regular email address or comments, I'm always going to reply to the Insiders first. I do give them priority. Best of all, it's free, so it doesn't cost you a dime to get on there. It is at themoneygps.com. You just scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.